So here at Elver Park in years past, all the voters were stationed to vote inside of this building here, but this year is the first year that they've actually expanded voting to this tent. And this quarantine is being enforced by the RAs on every floor who are making sure all the students are following all the rules, making sure they do not leave the buildings. There's even been signs placed on the outside of this building here at Celery Hall, letting any outsiders know that they are not allowed inside. YWCA here is just one example of one of those businesses that was boarded up. You can also just see across the street here at UW Credit Union, they are boarded up as well.
Officers say around midnight they pulled somebody over here at the corner of Beach and Davison and Sun Prairie, but when they got out of their car to approach that car, the vehicle sped off and ended up crashing here just about 3 blocks away at the corner of Ruby Lane and Main Street here.
It's only going to get that much more exciting a little bit later, but this is just one of many options that you have tonight if you're looking for some family-friendly options. So this is obviously great news for teens who are trying to get their licenses relatively soon, but maybe not so great news for the people who are worried about those teens who are getting behind the wheel and on the roads. We just cannot escape these floodwaters here. I'm surrounded in water in what's supposed to be a parking lot for the Railroad Museum, but you can see that this goes much further than where we're just standing right now. Compounds are not something new. You know, they've been around. They're found in the air that we breathe and the packaging that our food can come in, but now they're even found in our own drinking water.
1, 2, 3.
For photographer Paul Giroux,
He can close his eyes.
social distancing doesn't have to mean social isolation.
We do portraits outside on the front porch or sometimes through the window. And those photos have been just so amazingly haunting to me. They're beautiful.
In a world that none of us wishes were reality, Giroux is finding a way to capture the beauty in a situation we all wish we could escape.
I think we'll be totally different from once we get on the other side of this. And I want to capture this for people.
Right now, he's working pro bono on a project called Portraits in the Time of Corona, capturing what social distancing and time at home looks like in our world for what it's suddenly become.
And I just feel like this is an important thing to do to really connect with families here locally, but also to record this time in our life so that when the kids and the grandkids and their grandkids look back, they have these portraits of what they were going through at that time.
While following the social distancing rules in place by the CDC,
Get really relaxed, real comfortable there.
Giroux is capturing the moments we are all struggling to find some assurance in. And he's reminding us all that the one thing more precious than our time is the people we spend it with.
Hopefully we'll get through this quickly, hopefully. I pray that we do.
In Lake Mills, I'm Jamie Perez.
This will give them something to remember.
News 3 now.
Thanks you guys, thank you very much.
Did we go like this to go in our Zoom classes?
Even for a 7th grader, Jakayla Powers finds virtual learning challenging.
It's very much hard.
She spent weeks lying on her bed doing schoolwork.
And it was just something that just wasn't sustainable. Like for the entire year, for her to be like crunched over her nightstand or on her bed trying to do virtual learning.
But now,
And on Wednesdays, it like give us a to-do list.
she has a dedicated workspace of her own, crafted in a workshop of Jocelyn Lipinski's own.
I built a desk, and then I built another one, and then I built more.
Lipinski is a former teacher who's worked with the MMSD school district for a dozen years. This year is different than most.
It always feels like it's a chance to do the right thing, and to help kids, find success and do what they want. And the way the world is right now, can't think of anything else I'd rather do.
Lipinski spends several hours a day building desks out of old wood pallets to give to families in need for free.
I don't know who they are. I just know that they're families that need desks.
She says she can make about 6 desks every night by herself, eventually dropping them off at students' homes, like the one Jakayla now uses for virtual learning.
I want to thank Jocelyn and her family for taking the time to make this and give them out and being so generous and dropping them off to students.
So it really helped to have the desk to just be a space where she can sit and focus.
Lipinski knows the desks aren't perfect, but they're a tangible way to connect with students at a time when that kind of connection is hard to reach.
It feels like the right thing to do. If I have the talent to do it, I'd like to do it, because this time is so hard.
In Madison, Jamie Perez, News 3 Now.
Well, the coronavirus has been the #1 story for all of 2020, and this next one is about to be a close #2.
Most of us don't really care where the stuff you flush goes, but researchers with the Wisconsin State Hygiene Lab are making it their duty to to collect samples of it.
Science acts in weird ways sometimes.
Martin Schaefer is a senior scientist who leads a team collecting wastewater samples from 67 locations around the state. They're looking for the genetic material that causes COVID-19.
We know that the virus can appear in wastewater before there's any illness appears in the community. So it acts as kind of an early warning.
He said this testing goes hand in hand with what contact tracers and COVID tests already do.
We can't really practically test 300,000 people twice a week, but we can get an overall assessment of the virus levels in the community by testing the wastewater.
This sample on the UW-Madison campus collects students' waste every hour from about 8 dorms. Researchers come to this spot on Elm Drive twice a week to collect more.
You're excreting it, or you're shedding it into your fecal matter, and you poop and it goes into the wastewater and it gets mixed up with everybody else's and winds up at the wastewater treatment facility, and at that point you have a well-mixed sample that represents the whole community.
It's then taken to the state lab, where researchers take about 2 days to study the samples and report back what they found. The team knows the job may literally stink, but it's helping health leaders decide where to flush resources and attention.
It's a really interesting project, and it serves the public health goals of the state really well.
For News 3 Now, I'm Jamie Perez.
So far this winter, we have been pretty spoiled, to say the least. We haven't had too cold of temperatures, and we haven't had too much snow on the ground. But you can see from just looking outside that that is not the case anymore. So my job today is to show you some winter hacks, and we're going to do that right from our parking lot. Now, one of the first things that we all deal with in the morning is our cars. And first things first, we gotta get all this ice off the windshield. Most of us usually can get an ice scraper out of our cars. Well, if you do not have one of these ice picks, you can always use a credit card. Literally just take it to your windshield. Works like a charm. The next order of business is dealing with your side view mirrors. You have a plastic bag just lying around. You wrap the plastic bag around the mirror, and just like that, it's now protected from the ice. Next, I want to talk to you about your tires. If you are ever stuck in a situation where your tires are in a spinning rotation, you can't get out of the snow, all you have to do is grab the mat from inside of the car, place this mat down, reverse your car, and voila, you're unstuck. All right, and the last thing that I want to show you is how to take care of your windshield wipers and keep them from getting frozen. Now, many of us know the trick of keeping your windshield wipers up to keep them from getting frozen to your windshield, but if you use something like a sock or a glove and you stick it right to the end of that, it's kind of a cute way to keep that frost from accumulating at the end there. Of course, those are just some tips, but we wanted the experts to weigh in as well.
We do recommend that people have an emergency kit in their vehicle that will help them out in situations like that, having a small shovel that you can dig out your wheels, we recommend having some kitty litter, particularly non-clumping kitty litter, that can help increase your traction.
Of course, those are all good tips to remember. I hope you took some notes on all of those things so you can stay as safe as you can in driving in these conditions. Reporting from our parking lot, I'm Jamie Perez for WISC News 3.